I am very excited to have Angie Garton with me today. And I'll be honest, this is the first time Angie and I have ever spoken like this. So this is really great. And one of the reasons I reached out to Angie is because I've noticed over the last couple of years, actually, her work around menopause, which in the last couple of years as well, I've noticed as well has become a more talked about topic as well. Well, in my world, my online world, that feels like it's the case. And I suppose with where I am in my life, I'm going to be 49 in February. You know, this year I've had new thoughts coming into my mind. So I had a little gap in my cycle, and the thought that came into my mind was, oh, is that it? You know, is that it for me? You know, which I didn't used to have those thoughts. So I'm really excited to have this conversation because I know, and I have a feeling, and we're going to find out more during this call, that Angie is quite innovative in terms of the way she looks at women's bodies, cycles, and all of that stuff. So welcome, Angie. It's a very long introduction.
Thank you for having me on. Thanks for inviting me onto this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this, see what questions you want to ask me, and see where we go. Yeah, it's a big topic, so who knows where the
Exactly.
conversation might lead.
And that's such a good point. It is a massive topic. We may need more than one conversation, but we'll start here and we'll see where it takes us. And if you're listening and at the end of this conversation, you think, actually, I'd like to find out a little bit more, or there's certain things that come out that, do reach out, because, there is the opportunity to potentially have more than one conversation as well around this topic. So my first question for you, Angie, is what is the change really that you want to see in the world with regards to people's relationships with menopause?
Wow, that's such a great question. That's a
massive
really
question, I realize as well.
It's
I'm diving straight in there, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm quite, as you'll probably have gathered if you've read more than two of my posts on Facebook, because there's hundreds of them. I'm pretty deep. I go into the depths straight away. So I'm all about asking the big questions and then diving right in. So what kind of change? And that word relationship is bang on, absolutely bang on, because it's a relationship with ourselves. This whole thing of menopause is a change. It's a massive change in our lives. It's a thing that we need to navigate for ourselves, but also at the same time navigate it within a changing sort of environment, perhaps at home or work, relationships with other people. It affects so much of our lives, even for the people who say, oh, I sailed through it, I was fine. When I start to ask the questions, there's always things that pop in that they perhaps hadn't considered as being part of their menopause journey, as actually being a small cog in that massive wheel. There's always something that has changed and shifted for them. So what
can I just interject there with that before we move past that? Well, I still remember. Can you give us an example of one of those kind of things that you've come across? Because I'm sure there'll be people thinking, oh, well, I sailed through it and it didn't, maybe affect too much. So can you give an example of one of those things, where one of those questions that you've asked that has then opened up that thinking, has opened up that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're so often, we've almost been trained to think of menopause as this series of physiological, physical symptoms, physical changes, hot flushes, sleepless nights, that kind of thing. But when I ask the question of, what age did your period stop? Okay, we'll have a look at that. And it's for people who I've had these conversations with people who are willing and curious and wanting to chat about this. It's not just random people that I'm asking these questions to.
Not just down Waitrose in the queue.
Yeah. It has been known. It has been known at railway stations. Actually, I have these conversations, and for these people, what I'm really looking for, like patterns and things that they weren't aware of at the time, things that have changed, because I'm so interested in the whole aspect of it as a journey, as a narrative. So for the people who tell me I didn't have any issues, it was fine for me, I didn't really notice it, I'm like, can we talk more about that? So when we figure out when menopause happened, and I start to ask the questions around what else was going on in your life at that time, did you make any decisions, or were you married at that time, what were the kids doing, were they left home, things like that. And they often throw in little comments or tell me a little story. Oh yeah, that was the time when my son came back from university. This is an example, this is not me, obviously. Son came back from university and had to come back and live in the family home again. And then I changed my career because I just wasn't really happy. And like, hang on a minute there, hang on, can we just slow that down and tell me more about that? Because they're all indicative of big life transitions, big changes happening. Okay, you're not telling me about what level your estrogen was at, and the symptoms and the physical things, that we're not listing those, but something was going on externally, internally, to nudge you into making these life choices. Something happened that was different, and people don't always make the connection that this is part of menopause.
Wow, that's so interesting. So have you found that people make big life changes then during this stage or around that time?
It can be. It's not always big, bold. I left my husband and started to volunteer for whoever and go and live on an island in Hawaii. It's not always these big things, these big shifts, but for them it was maybe something that was brewing for a while. And the changes that happen around perimenopause being obviously the time when we have the most significant biological changes in a chemical sense, in a hormonal sense. And it's not just about what's going on with the hormones, it's the shifts in the brain chemistry that can really nudge us into doing something about these things that have been building up for a while, that we perhaps have been, just putting up with for a bit, because that's life, and sometimes you just have to do that. And then it comes to a bit of a head. At menopause, there's no set story I can say that 50% of women change their jobs. There's no stats around this. But anecdotally, there are often, and I'm only going to pin that word on it, there are often things that people will tell me that they changed about themselves. I've been told about I remember an email from one lady saying that she no longer wears makeup. She would never have left the house without makeup before, and all of a sudden, no, it's got to go. I need to show the world this is me, this is my face, and I'm owning that now. So there's small things like that. There's it can be a change of career. It could be just a change of within the same career, the same job perhaps, but different hours, different position, that you find that you're questioning yourself. Why didn't I go for that promotion? Why didn't I go for that promotion? And you're starting to just question things about yourself a little bit more. And yeah, I see this so commonly that and obviously the the definition of a big life change is different for every person. So that's going to
I mean, it's an interesting one you saying about the makeup thing, for instance, because that can sound like a small thing, but that is huge for somebody who's you know, for years and years not gone out of the house without putting makeup on. That is a huge transition. That is a huge change in terms of being comfortable within your own skin, being comfortable with who you are, and showing your face, you know, without is massive for a lot of people, isn't it?
It is. It's a time in life when often confidence takes a bit of a dip. It can be another one of those sort of catalysts around physical appearance and confidence in that respect. There's many aspects to confidence, but yeah, it's a big thing. I felt pretty emotional when I read that email, to be honest.
Yeah, it's huge. So what made you start to do the work that you do? I mean, tell us a bit about the work that you do and why you started doing it, or what you felt the catalyst for you was for beginning.
Yeah, gosh, I've been exploring this recently, actually. The background behind why I do what I do, because it's shifting again for me. A woman at 43, I'm seeing more reasons why this is important. It's my life purpose. It's my soul purpose. It's a deep feeling that I have to do this work. And I work with women, a lot of group work online. I have a Facebook community. I have two Facebook communities, one large one smaller one more sort of focused. So that's one aspect of it. I give talks and workshops where I'm asked to. I have some collaborative work online and in person as well for consultancy work, basically for businesses and organizations, where I can provide not just information, obviously that's a big part of it, but also the support for the business, for the employees, for the employers, in how to talk about menopause and how to really address this subject as a whole, because it can be pretty scary as a woman in the workplace trying to address this and trying to tackle the symptoms and the problems. So that's a big aspect of my work. So a lot of it is group work. There's certainly some one-to-one stuff in there too. That's absolutely essential, really. I can only speak to one woman at a time. Even in group work, I want each individual to know that they are heard, they're understood as an individual woman. And that really is one way of describing why this work is so important to me, because for quite a long time I didn't feel heard, I didn't feel listened to, I didn't feel important, didn't feel like I had anything of value to say or bring to the world as a young adult. And that had an enormous impact on me, my beliefs, my values, my character, who it shaped me. And that obviously I didn't leave school thinking, right, I'm going to be a menopause coach, turn this ship around. That obviously didn't happen. I had very little self-worth, self-value at all. I didn't even think I'd be in higher education very long when I left school. So my confidence was rock bottom. And it was only through really following my own path, and all of my friends went and did their A-levels and had plans for big careers and university life, and I turned the other way and I did my own thing, which is another big aspect that I talk to women about in my work today, that you have to value your path, your individuality. There are things that we all need to address and things that we all need to revise about ourselves and start to apply for ourselves. And there are many other aspects of life, of menopause, putting it into that bigger context, that we need to really address what's going on in here. Otherwise we're always going to be feeling lost. And yeah, that's a big aspect of it.
It's huge, isn't it? The as you were speaking, I was thinking about that, the expectations that have a certain path, to and the huge value that is put on, doing A-levels and then going to university and walking that path and maybe doing an MA or maybe doing a PhD, and that education path being seen as the path and the most valuable in a way path, with how it's and so walking a different path can be quite challenging, even when it doesn't feel right for you, even if it feels like, well, there's not a course I particularly want to study, or there's not like it's not the path I want to go down. But I think a lot of people just do it anyway because they feel they should or could, or that's the expected path. So it can be really difficult to walk your own when that is the well-trodden one.
I do agree, but also for me at that time, at such a young age, I had such a low opinion of myself that I didn't think I was worth, it wasn't within me to go to that well-trodden path. That wasn't how I identified with myself. That relationship thing again with myself had to change. So doing the other huge. It was big. It was big, but it was the best decision I made, for the wrong reason. But
well, this is it. This is interesting, isn't it? Because, even if it doesn't feel like it was a positive reason for not walking that well-worn trodden path, it served you very well, right?
It did, yeah.
So that's really interesting, isn't it? I think there's when we can trust that what is unfolding is for our highest and best, that can be really, really empowering and powerful, as a way of viewing what is unfolding for us. Because my I want every young person to make empowered choices, right? To be able to make empowered choices and choose what they want to do, because that's the path they want to go down, not because they don't feel they're capable. That's because we all have magic, we all have gifts, we all have a purpose and a reason for being here. Well, that's what I believe anyway, that we all have something incredible to give to the world, and you may just not know what that is right now, and that's fine, but that I know that everybody has stuff that, and the thing about that is that our particular gifts are so innate for us that we often don't value them because that can come as easily, or so we're like, well, that can't possibly be of value, or the world is telling us, or our society or environment is not valuing what that innate gift is, but it doesn't mean it's not there and that it's not valuable.
That's so true. And that's I think that whole description, how you describe it, is perfect, because that is true as a young woman, and it's very true as a woman trying to find her way through perimenopause, get to the other side at postmenopause, and hope that the butterfly will emerge, but sometimes it doesn't, and then you're still kind of tugging with yourself, pulling, and that trust of knowing that it's what will unfold, and what will come right for you, it will come good. Trusting that process, trusting yourself in that, navigating through the messiness of it all, is kind of mirrored at both ends of fertility. of our journey
Yeah,
with that.
it's interesting, isn't it? Because like you say, those are kind of real strong points when it's very much there for us, and it's there in between, you know, for sure. But I think as a mother, I know there've been times when you're just so absorbed in motherhood and it's so overwhelming and so huge that there's no space to think about any, you know, you're kind of surviving, you know, you're kind of so wrapped up in it all. But as they get older and you get more time and space, you know, it definitely comes back round for sure, I would say. You know. Yeah. So this is the conscious shift like series that this is going to be part of. So what is the shift in consciousness that you would love to see in the world when it comes to this topic?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think what I'm striving for, and I'm trying to model for the women who are looking for this, perhaps the women who follow me, and modeling it from my mentors as well, because I don't see myself as being particularly, you know, this is not a new concept, this idea that I'm talking about as menopause being a natural transition most of the time, not for everyone, for most of us, and taking a whole body and mind approach to it instead of treating it as a set of symptoms and a disease that really grates on me. I find it very disempowering. And what I'm wanting to show in how I talk about it, what things that I teach, how I'm encouraging women to view themselves, it's like an acceptance of the change and the transition, an acceptance of themselves, and a restructuring, because this is kind of what I'm going through at the moment, and I'm seeing it in my clients as well, of that relationship with ourselves. We have a relationship with ourselves that's you know, it changes through life, you know, it's life, isn't it? We also have this relationship with menopause itself, and that's the thing that I'm wanting a conscious change around, to take a step back from this medicalized view of it. And for some people it is a medical issue and it is a medical event. I appreciate that, but it's not like that for us all. And I think we're in danger of going too far over to that side. So I want a step back into the more of the way how we used to see it. You know, there are still cultures in this world who view women at the other end of menopause, at postmenopause, who view those women as very they're the sages of the tribes, you know, they're the women who go up in status, they don't go down. They're the women that people go to for advice, for they hold the tribe together almost. And you know, I'm not saying we have to live in tribes and live in mud huts, but we need some of that that historical perspective again. And we think that we're advancing with all this science, and I've got a degree in science, all of that science is brilliant, it's wonderful, but also let's not go too far the other way with it. And I think we're in danger of that, and we're missing some perspectives around what menopause really is about. And that takes a real, that's not something that you can do without bringing some conscious awareness to yourself around that. It's not, there's no blueprint that I can just pass over and you know, here, read this, you'll be fine. This is a personal journey that everyone will go through, whether or not they see it as as a transition in the way that I see it. That's their choice, but I want to give them that choice. I want to show them, there's this way of looking at it. It doesn't have to come from a medical textbook. There's another way.
So in a sentence, what would you say that it's really about?
Oh, in a sentence, I'd say it's about oh, you put me on the spot. I'm not very good at putting things into one sentence.
I have put you on the spot here. Sorry.
It's all right. You're welcome to do that. I think it's about unconditional acceptance and self-connection.
Yeah.
Unconditional.
Well, that's lovely. A journey or a transition of unconditional acceptance.
Yeah, because it's bigger than menopause.
Yeah.
It's more than this hormonal thing,
Yeah. And this comes up so much with people that I interview on this podcast, because I was just thinking, I was doing an interview the other day with a lady about reflux, right? And of course that's something that can be highly medicalized and viewed in that way and treated in that way. And in what you've just said, it comes back to viewing this in a holistic way, and in a, like, there's a place for the medical part of it, but that isn't the sum total of what it is. And that's I think that can be the danger of having a modern kind of placing modern medicine as the kind of be all and end all, or the cure for, like, it takes away this holistic view and the value in the transition, when we treat it as a disease or a medical problem,
and it's not a new concept. I mean, I've developed my own way of talking about all this and helping women with this, but it's not something that I just came up in the shower with. It's not an idea that popped into my head on a walk. It's something that I've seen and valued and really appreciated the value of from women that I've seen and spoken to, courses I've been on, and the science. There is science around all of this as well.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of women writing about it.
Yes, there's I've been seeing more and more about menopause, particularly in the last year, but maybe that's my radar as well, that's more open to that as well, with where I am in my life, that I have an awareness and an openness to that, because it's the next transition for me, and the transition that I am already in and experiencing, so and there is always this inner and outer, isn't there, this inner and outer journey, and the calling from this to go within, and to honor both aspects, and it's an interesting one. Recently for me, I've been really looking at the shadow and the light, when we're coming from our kind of egoic mind and tendencies, and when we're coming from that place of pure love and creation, and again, like, both are part of us, both those aspects are part of us, and so always will be, it's like there's no getting rid of or healing from,
it's an integration.
It's an integration, and it's about kind of what you've been talking about, an acceptance of self, and those aspects of ourselves, and but one of the things that's been very interesting for me looking at, and this is something that literally over the last week has just gone whoa for me, which is I have been talking for the last couple of years about helping to create a legacy of feminine social change, you know, and tuning in and getting a sense of the driving force behind what I've been doing as helping to create a world where our children grow up in a world where feminine and masculine qualities were equally respected and valued, you know.
Yeah,
because there are the two aspects within all of us, and you know what we talked about with education, and the medicalized model often comes from that masculine aspect.
It does, yes.
And the intuition and the journeying and the holding together of families by you know, that matriarch being less valued, right?
Yeah.
And what I've seen for myself in that literally over the last week is, wow, that a lot of that is coming from my shadow and coming from that compensation for how the world is, right? And actually, when I tap into that place of into my light and my creator and that aspect of myself and possibility, from there it's returning to love. You know, it's pure love. And when we're in that place, there is balance. And when we're in that place, there is an honoring of the masculine and feminine. And when we're in that place, there is no competition and there is no devaluing or any of that, you know. So that's been a big kind of woo for me, you know, to check in with ourselves at that place where we're orientated, where we're coming from, you know. Yeah. And a key part of that being that acceptance that you were talking about in terms of who we are and our place in the world and our value and all of that, you know.
And accepting as well which parts, it's like identifying and thinking of shadow selves and parts and things of ourselves, identifying which parts of our lives, our identity, perhaps our habits, our things that we value about ourselves or not, which things can we change, which things, an acceptance of, okay, I'm responsible for these things over here, not responsible wholly for these things over here. Why am I worrying about both? You know, why am I trying to change both? And the stress around that. And yeah, a lot of that again can come from that shadow self, you know, talking about trying to compensate and fill in the gaps and things that we feel we need to. A lot of that can come into play there as well from my experience.
And so I think having processes where we can really check in where we're coming from and that orientation, you know, and having and that's the work we do as coaches, right? It's orientating, it's that bridge, the light, it's that bridge to possibility, it's that bridge to becoming from our best self and that aspect of ourselves, you know. Ooh. So what's one thing that you would like to kind of leave people with in this conversation? Like, what's one thing that you want people to be aware of or to know?
Oh, if I just pick the one thing,
There's so much, isn't there?
Yeah, there is so much, and it's so close to my heart that sometimes it's hard to narrow it in. And we have talked about this, but to really just relay the point that it's not all about the medicalized view of menopause. It's often a tough transition. It's going to ask a lot of you, but we can't treat all of that with as a disease. It's not a disease. It needs all of you. It's asking for all of you to step up.
Wow, thank you Thank you so much. It's been so lovely and so gentle, actually, talking with you today and exploring this topic and finding out a bit more about where you're coming from with this and how you're helping people. Has been such an honor today. So thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me on. Really, really enjoyed it. Absolute pleasure. Yeah, I will talk for Britain, so it's good that you can rein me in. Not everyone can.
Well, it's so, yeah, it's been so lovely to talk with you today. And if anybody is wanting to connect further with Angie, in the notes you'll see that her links are there, so you can reach out and you can connect with her communities and the ways in which she can support you. So yeah, just check those out. They're here for you there. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.